Hello, I'm back again, and it hasn't even been ages. Today I'm going to give you a realistic sketchbook tour. One thing that I find slightly irritating is that every time I go to look for a sketchbook tour, everything's so perfect and pristine and it makes me feel like a terrible artist. Those individual people don't irritate me. Some people are just perfectionists and some people produce amazing work and all of it looks amazing and they never make any mistakes. I'm not one of those people. So this is my little pocket messy sketchbook that I started at the end of 2020 and continued into 2021. I don't actually know what brand it is. Talons it looks like. It was cheap and I'm pretty sure not designed for painting in. But I don't really care if my little pocket sketchbook gets all roughed up with paint, and I thought this took paint pretty well. Yeah, let's not hang around too much. I'm sure you don't want to see the front of the sketchbook. Let's open it up. So this is the first page. I don't know if anyone else has it with sketchbooks where the first page you have to spend absolutely hours on and get it looking really perfect. Don't worry, I'm not doing that thing where I go, oh, it's so terrible, and expect everyone to tell me how great it is. This is about as good as it gets. It was Christmas time when I started this, so little Christmas tree. This was meant to be a drawing of my parents. My dad is really easy to draw on paint. I don't know if you've noticed, I paint him all the time. My mum, I don't know why, is just really, really difficult to draw, so she never features in any of my paintings, bless her. This is meant to be a messy sketchbook where I don't care about mistakes and whatever, but this face was so bad that I had to cover it up because I couldn't bear to look at it. Here's just a little sketch of my family sitting around a table and a little coffee pot here. Here are some quick little figure drawing sketches. You can see that the pencil sort of transfers over to the other page. I don't care about keeping this in good nick, really. It's all a mess, but that's fine with me. Here's a pencil drawing that I put a bit more effort into and a little painting here. So yeah, this is, I think, the first time I used paint in this sketchbook. Is it? I've already lost track of what we've seen. Yeah. I hate these pages. I hate them. But I told myself I wasn't allowed to rip anything out, so they're there. And here you go. Not everything I make is good. In fact, most of it is not. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I just love painting raindrops on things. I find it really therapeutic and I don't have to put a lot of thought into it. So despite not liking rainy days, it's always good art inspiration. And here's a little glass of whiskey. I just love the way that the light catches in a glass of whiskey. Beautiful. More little sketches of my cat and a view from my sitting room. That's in watercolour pencil, which I am not used to using. This is where my love for blind contour drawings began, and you'll see throughout the sketchbook that it's mostly just these silly little faces. I love them so much. Basically, you just find a face and you draw it without looking at the face, and you draw it in one line, and you end up with things like this. A little sunset painting, there's a lot of those in here, and more silly faces. Again, I hate these pages, hate them. If I had allowed myself to rip them out, I would, but they exist. They're a little experiment with just layering paper and mixed media and stuff, but I despise them. So ugly, hate them. This was an attempt at using like coloured grounds, like sort of toning my paper first with a bright colour and then leaving it visible underneath. I love the effect that some people get with this, but I just could not get the hang of it, but I would like to try it more. Here's a little painting of some good food that me and my partner had on our anniversary, and a little sketch again of my cat. Cats and silly faces and sunsets feature a lot in this book. What does this say? My impressive ability to fuck up faces beyond repair and the urge to rip out the page, even though I've told myself time and time again that the sketchbook is for learning and experiments rather than actual good art. Yeah. So that was meant to be me, but the face, I look like a little old lady, but that's fine. That's fine. Can't rip it out, so it's fine. And this was just an image from Pinterest that I painted, but some of this paint has transferred onto it. The intention of this sketchbook was never to share it, so I don't really know why I sort of justified to myself. I think I just didn't want future me to look back and think that I thought that was good. But I'm trying to get over the feeling that I have to justify everything that I paint. This was another image from Pinterest that's half finished. You can see I sort of did that hand a bit and then just couldn't be bothered with that one. Hands, notoriously difficult. More silly little faces. There's so many of them. This was supposed to be a self-portrait and it's god-awful. It doesn't look a thing like me, and I just sort of gave up. That's the good thing about a sketchbook. You can just give up halfway through. It doesn't actually matter at all. And these are some silly little cartoony things. I never really draw or paint in a cartoon style, so it was quite fun, but I don't particularly like them. I like this one though. Here's a little painting that featured in a previous video of a heron. And I really liked the way that the heron's shape is like an S. Some silly little biro drawings. I remember this day. It was February, but it was really warm and I sat outside with a cuppa and just sketched things around me. I mean, you can't really tell what they are. These are plants. But yeah, it was good fun to sit out in the sun. I can't wait until it's warm enough to do that again. There's a little biro sketch of my partner in the woodshed, and a little window acrylic painting. This is a little robin that was really good friends with my partner. He would just come out and sit with my partner and like sing him little songs. It was adorable. Every time I came out, he'd run away. So didn't like me much. That's meant to be my partner, and that's meant to be me. We had a barbecue in February because it was really weirdly warm, but it doesn't look much like us. Here's a cat saying I am a bad painting of a cat because Sylvie has art block. This book was great for art block, just because I would scribble and scrawl things and not give a shit, basically. A little sketch of my partner silhouetted against the sea, which I eventually ended up turning into a painting. And the sunrise from my window, that's an acrylic. More blind contour faces, and then a lasagna, the top of a crispy cheesy lasagna. I just really had the urge to paint it, and honestly, it's one of my favourite pages in the entire book. I don't know what that says about me. Just bloody love cheese. This was an art block day. This was just one of those days where nothing goes right, so I cut out loads of bits of paper, did loads of doodles, just made some marks because that was all I could produce that day. I don't like the spread at all, but it was definitely good for my brain, and that's the sort of thing that it's good to not be too precious about. More cat doodles, more blind contour doodles of cats. These are some of my favourite ones, they're just so stupid. More blind contour cats, and a little watercolour sketch. You can tell I don't ever use watercolour. It's not my thing. I don't have the patience for it. This was back in the spring where I was making wild garlic everything, and this is a little bottle of wild garlic oil that me and my partner made, and that's him in a contour styly, not a blind contour, that was just a one-line drawing. Always a really good freeing art exercise, I think. Some little acrylic paintings of a bonfire at sunset and then later on in the night. I quite like this one. This, I think, was watercolour pencils just built up over several layers, which I liked a surprising amount. I like the sort of double page spread thing here. I don't think I did very much of that, but I should. That's cool, I like that. So these ones are not blind contour drawings. I don't actually like them very much. This one's quite nice, but the ones where I was actually looking, I don't think are very good. The ones where I wasn't looking, I mean, quality. Here are just a couple of tiny images from Pinterest that I painted and drew. This was from a day where I just sat on top of a cliff and drew and painted the things around me, like all the leaves that I found. I didn't bring the right colours of paint, so everything looks a bit muddy. Like this was bright green grass and a bright yellow flower, but I didn't have the right colours, so it's all a bit grey looking. Here are some not particularly great drawings of my partner. Some cat doodles. Cats do not stay still for long enough, that's true. They're not the best models ever. More contour drawings and a little oh no, because they're so bad. Some little biro sketches of ancient Greek statues and little primrose. I'm very attached to primroses. I was born on Primrose Day, and whenever they come out they're like a sign of spring, and that's my favourite season. If you looked at my finished work, like my proper big paintings, and then looked at this, you probably wouldn't think it was the same person. That's kind of why I wanted to post this, just so you could see that like there's so much shit that goes on behind the scenes. Here's a page taped in because it must have fallen out at some point. That's the sort of level of aesthetic we're going for. Another double page spread of some lovely hills. Did a drawing in felt tips for the first time since I was a little child. This page is falling out, I've got to be very careful. Crappy little doodles that have imprinted onto each page, so you can't actually see what they are. Here's some mussels on a rock and another seascape. I think again this was watercolour pencil, which I started to really love using in a sketchbook. More experiments with watercolour pencil. This was my first design for the thank you notes that I send out with orders, and a little mixed media paint and biro doodle there. This is when I asked on Twitter for people to send their selfies and I would do a blind contour drawing of it, and that was so fun and so stupid. There's just pages and pages of these blind contour drawings. I really love that one. That one turned out so weirdly well, although one of the eyes is down there, but I really like it. And some turned out like that. So more, they carry on going forever. And here's another sunset scene, double page spread. That's acrylic. Oh, another blind contour. And a little sheep. This one, you can tell I kind of got bored. It was paint originally, and then I just used pencil to scribble some trees and stupid little cat doodles and little mouse doodles as well. More blind contours. Who'd have thought it? And some little ink sketches. This drawing I challenged myself to only use 3 colours, and I sort of experimented to see how they'd mix. A rough double page spread here that I didn't actually let dry properly. You can see that's peeled off some of the paint. And this is when I moved into my studio, and I started using the sketchbook a lot less because I was so focused on bigger paintings. There's a self-portrait of me in my undies with a face that I rubbed out about 500 times and then never bothered to actually draw in. More blind contours. That's a watercolour pencil drawing of a sunset, which I wasn't that keen on, and some random shapes. Here are some little doodles of a vodka bottle. My cat Pablo having a little nap. He'd often come out and join me in the studio and sit on the armchair all day while I painted. That's just an image I took from Pinterest, also I think in watercolour pencils, and a little acrylic painting there of a sunset. a drawing of the veg patch that you can see I got bored of before I ever finished it. A little pressed leaf that I found on the floor in London that just has lovely colours. And then I think beside the spectacled cat, we're at the end. This is the back end of my sketchbook where I just scored games and tested out materials and stuff. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope that your illusions that I'm good at art haven't been entirely shattered, but probably a bit shattered. Let me find a good page to end it on. What do we reckon? Lasagna. Let's end it on lasagna. I will see you in another video, hopefully. I'm thinking of doing a Q&A, so if you've got any questions about my art stuff, feel free to drop them in the comments. Yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you soon, maybe.